Welcome to the Business Podcast, where we interview professionals across all industries. Hey, it's Simon. Welcome back. Today we have Meaghan Murphy, author of Your Fully Charged Life and editor-in-chief of Women's Day. Meaghan, it's great to have you here. How are you?
Yay, thanks for having me. I'm always good. Even when
I
I'm
like
not.
to hear that. I like to hear that. So maybe you can kick us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and perhaps highlight some things that most people don't know about you.
Well, at this point, I think most people know everything about me, right? Because I'm sort of an open book with a book to match. But I have a 25-year, probably plus magazine career. And I have been everywhere from, Teen People to YM to being one of the founding editors of Teen People magazine to Cosmopolitan to Self magazine to Good Housekeeping. Currently the editor-in-chief of Women's Day, and just launched my first book in February called Your Fully Charged Life. I'm also the co-host of a podcast called Off the Gram with wellness influencers, and we are part of the Dr. Oz OzTube network. And probably my most important job, I am the mother of three. I have a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, and 7-year-old kids, and a dog, of course. So there's that.
That sounds fun. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into your career and maybe some of the highlights that created some inflection points for you or otherwise?
So my career has sort of been winding and curious, and it's hard to, when you look at my resume, it's pretty wild. So when I was about 16 years old, I went through some tough times. I had some tumultuous teen years, kind of dealt with an eating disorder and a hospitalization, the death of my best friend, and just some really rocky years. And I wrote about it. Writing has always sort of been a therapy and a release for me. And the essay I wrote earned me a Horatio Alger National Scholarship and some national attention on a televised special, which then got the attention of YM Magazine, who called me and said, "Hey, we'd love to tell your story." And I said, "Fantastic, but I'll write it. And can I start on Monday as an intern?" "Okay, thanks, great. I'll be there Monday." And that was sort of how my career was born, from having had this, crazy teen years, some really tough times, making my message, using writing as a therapeutic tool to get through that. And then, it was really the launch pad for my career.
Okay, thanks. Great. I'll be there on Monday. No wiser words have ever been spoken. Really cool. What would you say inspired you to write your book? What's the genesis story there?
Sure. So from the beginnings of that magazine career, so I'm now working at YM Magazine, later than Teen People Magazine. I have been through a ton of therapy at this point, out of the hospital, managing my eating disorder, but I hadn't really dealt with a lot of the underlying feelings that had given me such a raging eating disorder in the first part. I was inherently negative and pessimistic with big swirling emotions that I didn't know what to do with, and I had stifled them by starving myself. And so as I sort of moved through recovery, I realized that I was dealing with the symptoms, but not the problem. And as I began to learn how to deal with the underlying issue, I was assigned an article for Cosmopolitan magazine called The 7 Secrets of Happiness. And I'm in my 20s at this point, and a functioning human working through a lot of issues, but I'm assigned this story called The 7 Secrets of Happiness. And when I started to do the research for the story, I discovered the work of Martin Seligman, who's the godfather, the forefather of the positive psychology movement. And when I really started to look at his work and what he really sort of identified as the key characteristics that allow someone to thrive and flourish in life, I really kind of resonated for me and clicked for me that I actually could be happy. I could make that choice. There were things I could do every day to do happy, and really start to understand that happiness was an active state of doing versus this passive, elusive state of being. And I began to make different choices. I began to live differently, and it became addictive, and it felt good. It felt good to look on the bright side. It felt good to be optimistic and joyful. And I started to live differently. And I then landed at Self Magazine, where I was the fitness director and the deputy editor, and I was a certified trainer and helping people with the Self Challenge program reach their goals, whether it was their diet goals, their fitness goals, their weight loss goals, their motivation goals. I was really coaching people to live their best lives. And in the process, I started to live my best life and really got a helper's high from just giving people the tools and the resources and the action steps to inch forward and to feel happy and in control and optimistic and joyful. And life was good for me at that point, right? I fell in love with my brother's best friend and got married and had 3 kids, and then ultimately moved to the suburbs, which is then when I took on the role as executive editor of Good Housekeeping, because that made sense with my life's age and stage, I guess, at that point, right? I got a picket fence, so I might as well work at Good Housekeeping. And I was in a really great place in my life, super, super happy, really just thriving, right? What Martin Seligman would call thriving and flourishing. And then my dad, who was my person, my biggest cheerleader, just like my guy, was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer out of nowhere. And he was gone in 5 months. And there was a moment where I was with him in chemotherapy. I had joined him for chemo one day. And I took a bunch of selfies, and I love looking back at those pictures. But I'm sitting there with him, and he's getting pumped with this chemical cocktail. And I said, Dad, I haven't given up, but this sucks. And I want to ask you a tough question. How do you want to be remembered? Like, what is your legacy? How do you want your 11 grandchildren to remember you? And I asked him that through tears. I was choking up. He was choking up. It was hard. But he was very, very clear. And he was very, very at peace that he was leaving the world exactly as he wanted to. And it really gave me that opportunity to ask myself the very same question. How did I want to be remembered? And I knew instantly that I wanted to be remembered for leaving a legacy of positive energy, and that I wanted to give people a toolkit for living the way I was able to now live. So that even when I was faced with something really shitty, like my dad dying, I could move through it with grit and grace. And it didn't mean it didn't suck, and it didn't mean it wasn't hard, but I could move through it with grit and grace. I had the tools, I had the resources to weather those storms. And I just was determined at that point to write this book and leave that legacy.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Looking back on your career up until this point, what have been, I guess, some funny stories that come to mind?
I mean, I have lots of funny stories because I have a crazy ass job. I mean, I'm also a bit of a life hacker. So you may see me on TV doing something insane like disinfecting a mattress with vodka, or teaching Ryan Seacrest and Kelly Ripa how to get fit with like a bag of cat food and a garden hose. Or you may see me like, I mean, I do crazy stuff. Like my job is crazy, and it's never the same any 2 days in a row. So I've really just had so much fun. And I always say this to people too, like I have never really um, chased a career path. I've chased excitement and really things that made me excited, exhilarated. Those are the things I went after. And so I've landed in good jobs and good places by virtue of that, but I've never really had a strategic, calculated job plan.
Working out with fire hoses? Did I hear that right? Something
Yeah,
about
garden hoses. I taught Kelly and Ryan how to use a garden hose as like battle ropes. So we were like literally using garden hoses as battle ropes to tone. Using it was like kitty litter and dog food as sandbags to do some toning. I mean, I'm a bit of a life hacker. I call myself an expert problem solver, but in a very MacGyver-esque way. Like I will come up to a solution for any problem. It's so exhilarating for me.
That does sound fun. What's been some of the recent stuff that you've hacked? I guess for working out or for health or
Well,
sleep.
and it can be, well, a lot of it for is, so a lot of the stuff I do is DIY too. I mean, being stuck, I mean, safe, not stuck at home for the past year, but like just last week, I was using celery stems to make um, bouquets of roses, print flower. So if you take a celery stalk, you cut the bottom off and you dip it in paint, you can use it as a stamper, and it makes like this beautiful rose-like esque flower print, and then you just paint on little stems, and it's really pretty. It actually makes a really nice Mother's Day gift. I can turn cupcake liners into flowers. I have a really fun hack for turning them into pretty flowers. Also makes a pretty Mother's Day-esque bouquet. I have a lot of cleaning hacks. I will show you what to do with wine away and magic erasers and 900 uses for vinegar. I love a lot of that kind of stuff. And then my book is really, there's tons of actionable life hacking type tips, things you might not realize that, wow, like making your bed could make you 84% more productive in the course of the day. Dopamine dressing the way you want to feel, dressing up to feel up. Your clothes and your enclothed cognition can actually impact your mood. Flowers, there is a truth to flower power. Having fresh cut flowers in your house could make you infinitely happier and ease stress and anxiety per Harvard research. So I love science. I love life hacks. I love tiny little tips and tricks and tools like that that can stick with someone and really just have an impact.
So I'm gonna make my bed, dress up in a tuxedo, get some fresh cut flowers, have the most productive day ever. Thank you.
Okay. So the magic about power dressing is, and this is what the research found, which I think is really fascinating, it's less about the actual outfit and more about your perception of the outfit. So if a tuxedo to you personally is the secret sauce, that's what makes you feel powerful and in charge and happy and good, then that's what you wear. If for me it's lightning bolt patterns and a bright orange sweatshirt, that's what I put on because that's what I assign with the good energy. So it's really about perception. So there's no magical outfit. It's your perception of whatever it is you're wearing or doing.
I really appreciate how you express that.
It's interesting, right? That's my
Yeah.
secret sauce. I fun filter science. So the whole book is like, there's tons and tons of research in positive psychology and neuroscience even, but what I do, my secret sauce or my skill set as a magazine editor for 25 years is taking that hard science or those hard facts and fun filtering them so that it's actionable news that you will actually use in your real life.
Very, very interesting. Um, I know we were talking a little bit earlier about things that most people don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is something that you notice about most people, given your line of work? Have you found yourself picking up an intuition?
Well, I am very empathetic. I feel people very deeply. I react very strongly to people's energy and not in a woo woo kind of way. Some people make me prickle. And then I avoid those energy vampires because they drain me hard. But I'm very, very aware of the energy I give off and the energy I take in. And there are certain people I don't want to be around. And then there are certain people that feel like sunshine. So I'm paying attention to that. And I'm surrounding myself very intentionally with the people who feel like sunshine.
And to use your words, how important is that when working on projects, given your current role?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's very key. Like teamwork makes the dream work, but if you don't like your team, that's a challenge, right? That's a problem. Um, what I talk about in the work charge chapter of the book, and I think is super important, is that oftentimes the what of work might not make you happy, right? You can't change the what because you need the paycheck. You got to pay the mortgage and feed the family. But you can change the who, how, and why of work. The who of work is critically important. Relationships are critically important to happiness. And so thinking differently about how you interact with your coworkers, ensuring that the way you treat one person is the way you treat all people, so that the person in the mailroom is equally as important to the CFO. And understanding that having a work husband or wife, as they say, is actually also critically important. Like, you need someone to commiserate with, to laugh with, to tell stories with, to empathize with. It is key that that work wife or husband is someone that's on your level below, just from a practicality standpoint, right? You can't really be BFF with the boss, so to speak. But understanding that those relationships within the context of your work life are really important. And the why of work is super, super important. Understanding that no matter what you're doing, and even if you hate what you're doing, it matters and it means something and it's impacting someone else. So I think in a career like teaching, that's super easy to understand and recognize. You're enlightening young little minds. It's very easy in a healthcare scenario. Wow, doctors save lives. But all jobs matter. And once you can connect your job to purpose, it becomes easier to deal with, right? So if, hey, listen, you could be a barista at Starbucks and understand that you giving someone that cup of coffee with a smile might be the best jumpstart to their day. It might set the tone for their day. It might be the fuel they need to power through a meeting and crush their day, right? Everybody's job matters and we all matter, and connecting to purpose is another way of, kind of making your job feel less like work.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, if we could imagine you architecting an ideal day, from the environment to the workload, what would that look like? Where are you? What's
Sure.
the setting? How
I
much work is going on from the
Yeah,
beginning to the end?
I love my new work from home life. The pandemic has had many silver linings for me. I was commuting, from New Jersey to New York, like hour and 45 minutes, really all in every day, each way. And I do feel in so many ways I've gotten hours and hours of my life back. And granted, I was very productive during that commute, answering emails, working on my book. Um, but I love that I can now fold a load of laundry between Slack calls, or take the dog for a walk on a walkie-talkie, we call the meeting, where I'm on the phone, I'm doing the meeting, but I'm also walking my dog. I love that I can have dinner with my children, all three of my kids, on a Taco Tuesday, and really enjoy them and be present with them, have a really great Taco Tuesday, but then pop back on my computer to finish a cover. Whereas I used to have to be in the office till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night if a cover was shipping, and miss out on all of that. I'm really getting the best of all worlds right now, and it feels so good. But like, my ideal day is there's always exercise. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I move my body. I talk about the importance of movement and protecting your sleep in the health chapter of Your Fully Charged Life. So movement is non-negotiable for me. It's my medicine. It's my mood magic. I'm always going to get up at the crack of acid on my morning. I love the early morning. I love 4:45 a.m. I love 5 a.m. I love it when nobody's up, nobody needs me, nobody's texting me, nobody's calling me. The world is mine. That is the best way for me to start a day. And I'm going to have my coffee, and I'm going to have my workout, and then I'm going to front load my day with what I like to say is yay. I'm going to have some kid time while I'm packing their lunches and making them breakfast and getting them to school, and just enjoying those moments. And then I'm going to be working on the magazine, and I might be taking a break to record my podcast, and then I'm going to be working on the magazine, and then I might do a Zoom interview to promote my book, and then I might be back on the magazine, and then I might be prepping a TV segment and coming up with some crazy craft. My days look different every day, which is good for me because that is ideal for my attention span. If I had to do the same thing like Groundhog's Day every day, it would be hard for me to stay committed and excited.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. It sounds like an exciting day, and it's even more fun to understand that you're actually experiencing it like that
Yeah.
during this time. So Phenomenal. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and getting a glimpse into not only your career, but also this book that you've written that seems to have a lot of the elements of what you do on your day-to-day life and kind of ties it into a nice package of insights and information, and to use your term, a fun filter. I really like that term, a fun filter.
Thank you.
So for now, we definitely look forward to speaking to you again. But until then, perhaps you can share a parting thought.
Sure. I think that gratitude is the secret sauce in life, but practicing gratitude, having an attitude of gratitude can be challenging. And one of the sneaky ways I practice gratitude is by asking myself and asking my family, what made you say yay today? And we prioritize positivity and pause to appreciate our lives simply by recalling one thing that made us say yay that day. So I think ask yourself, what made you say yay today? I also do an Instagram at the Yay List, which is just a community that celebrates good things and good energy and good people and ideas. And I encourage you to check it out.
Phenomenal. Until we speak again, Meaghan, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for attending the Business Podcast, and stay tuned for more episodes.